Welcome back everyone. Today we will be discussing the undefeated Dunk Low 5 on it black. Specifically, we'll be discussing whether you should sell or hold the undefeated Dunk Low 5 on it and why that is. To preface this, if you guys enjoy these types of videos regarding the market, reselling, and even info on how to acquire these limited products, be sure to subscribe and enable post notifications. This way you're always 100% updated. Furthermore, for more urgent updates such as the recent ICA Air Force One shock drop, follow my Twitter KeithAdam10 as well as personals for you. As usual, Endurance members were prepared well in advance with early information for this release, just like any shock drop or hunt on Nike sneakers. Reminder that the Endurance restock will be October 4th, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, so make sure you are following the Endurance Twitter if you are interested. But otherwise, moving on, for those who don't know, the undefeated Dunk Low 5 on it release is on October 5th via Nike Sneakers US, as they already did have their undefeated drop not too long ago, as well as the Europe releases. Retail will be $120 for these, as usual for these Dunk collabs. Stock is just above 20,000 pairs, which is just about what we have been seeing on these prior to undefeated Dunk collabs. A large chunk of the pairs still have yet to release via Nike Sneakers US, which is just below 10,000 pairs. Meanwhile, Sneakers Europe had only about 1,400 pairs total. In order to determine if the undefeated Dunk Low 5 on it will be a fruitful hold, we will cover an estimated range of what the sneaker will settle at after the Sneakers US drop, and also when shipments come in, essentially the pairs going into circulation, whether they're expected to increase post-drop or even hypothetically decrease, along with how much specifically over specific periods of time. And finally, what type of margin are we looking at for these in terms of holding them? Not the retail to resell initial margin, but rather the hold margin over X period of time. Basically, are these actually going to be worth your time or not, even if they go up? Kicking it off, let's discuss the estimated range that these should be settling at. To begin with, stock for all sizes combined is just about what we saw on the prior to undefeated Dunks, and we already saw how those reacted in the market. In fact, since there are already many pairs in circulation from the undefeated drop and the Europe release that already occurred, the market seems to have already priced these in to a similar range to where the other two pairs are currently at. Now with that said, pre-sale certainly is not fantastic, especially in smaller sizes. While the amount of bids are relatively high as well as the sale volume, but this is still not something to be celebrated considering there is such a vast amount in circulation already from the undefeated release as well as the Europe releases. Granted though, some people are still holding out for the Sneakers US release, and we'll discuss the effects that may potentially have later. Therefore, my expectations even after the Sneakers US drop are overall not too great. I'm for the most part expecting what we saw on the prior undefeated Dunk 5 on it. So one thing to note though, larger sizes will definitely do better than the smaller sizes, hence I've actually separated them in today's video, as I only really suggest going for the larger sizes, ideally sizes 11 and up, the bigger the better, but even some of the smaller sizes, especially if you don't have tax in your state, you'll be able to make easy profit off of, considering Sneakers US does offer free shipping. So overall, if you do go for these higher sizes, you should be able to make easy small profit with a decent margin, just nothing too crazy. So the current average is just about $149 for sizes 4 to 7. Obviously these are not the ideal sizes evidently. Now for sizes 7.5 to 15, we have an average of $179 per pair, which still leaves room for easy small profit with or without tax and a decent margin. Now keep in mind though, it's the larger sizes that will definitely perform the best, so focus on those, like I said, 11 and up. We normally see a notable change post US drop. This is when we normally experience what I like to refer to as the impulsivity effect. You guys should know what I'm referring to by now, as we discuss it very frequently, yet it almost always still occurs in some manner. Regarding the impulsivity effect, if you haven't watched my seller hold videos before, sneaker drops specifically impact human impulsiveness significantly after an individual fails to acquire that desired product due to insufficient supply and too much demand. Therefore, on average, we normally see about a 10% increase of the pre-drop prices post-drop. Now that 10% isn't always the case. In fact, this is one of the cases where I do not feel we'll be seeing that 10% increase in value, specifically because this already temporarily occurred after the undefeated release. However, there is also the possibility that these may be oversold at the moment, since there are so many in circulation right now, and everyone knows that they are to expect that Sneakers US drop on the 5th. So with that said, there is still a possibility that the Sneakers US drop has already been priced into the market. market, thus leaving some potential room for an increase still. So given that this is just a possibility though, I'd side more towards the conservative side and only expect about a 5% increase post Sneakers US drop, nothing very notable. That would hypothetically leave us with a post Sneakers US drop average of 156 for sizes 4 to 7 and 188 for sizes 7.5 to 15. Now keep this number in mind because we'll be revisiting this number when discussing the most optimal time to sell at. Remember, these will just be the post-drop prices for a finite period of time. Now let's discuss what prices will look like when shipments go out in the 1 to 2 week range. During this period, the vast majority of pairs will be going into circulation, aside from the amount of pairs that already went out through the Undefeated drop as well as the Europe releases. So normally we can see a drop in price up to around 15%. However, it is worth considering that the vast majority of these pairs were already in circulation from the Undefeated drop and the Europe releases as well, with a little less than 10,000 additional pairs going into circulation during the Sneakers US drop. There should still be a noticeable impact regardless, but I do feel it will not reach that 15% range. Now, considering it's about half of the stock that has yet to release, let's hypothesize that the drop in value may be half of that typical amount, 15%, thus 7.5%. This then could potentially leave prices at about 144 for sizes 4 to 7 and 174 for sizes 7.5 to 15, which is just slightly lower than what they're at right now because of the Sneakers US drop. Now that the average price ranges at those points in time are evident, let's discuss whether they're expected to increase from the post-shipment range or even hypothetically decrease. So when it comes to these, I'm expecting a very similar performance to what we saw with the prior two Undefeated dunks that have already dropped, considering the stock is just about the same as well as demand. First, if we look at the most recent one, being the 5 on it in blue and purple, we'll see that since their release in early August, they've really only gone down, unfortunately. Now granted, it has only been 2 months for this particular pair, so let's look at the other as well. On the other hand, when we look at this first Undefeated dunk in green and brown, we see a near identical pattern initially with a gradual decrease in value over time. However, towards the end of August, these did begin to gradually recover, but only to the point of where sales were initially at, essentially no increase. So when it comes to this black pair, these are already lower than what the other two were at initially, considering a lot of these are already in circulation due to the Undefeated drop and the Europe releases. Hence, I would expect more of a plateau over the next couple of months rather than an actual decrease, since I do believe that that portion of it has already been priced in. Regardless, a plateau still is definitely not ideal, unfortunately. After that period, I would expect a minor, gradual increase, nothing very notable though. Finally, regarding a hold margin on these, essentially, are these actually going to be worth your time or not? Considering I'm expecting a plateau for these during the first couple of months prior to any increase, this will of course affect the potential 1-year ROI that we normally use to rate these potential holds. Not only that, but the way these other dunks have been performing, I'm really not expecting that increase in the future to be very notable at all. Within 1 year after the plateau, I can potentially see these getting into that 230 to 250 range on average for the larger sizes specifically. Even this though would only leave us with about a 20 to 30% ROI, which really isn't great. Hence, I would have to give this a 3 out of 10 rating overall. Definitely one of my lower ones, as I definitely see this being a below average hold, unfortunately, like many of the holds that we have been going over recently. Regardless of that though, I am still expecting large sizes to be easy small profit with a decent margin, so I'll definitely be going for these on the Sneakers US drop, and I'd suggest you do the same. As for my pair from the Undefeated drop, I've actually already sold that one. If I get any from the Sneakers US drop, I'll be quick selling them as well. Also, just a note in general for anyone considering holding any items who have low capital, you should never hold anything in general if you don't have sufficient capital to go for as many drops as possible at your full potential without holding back. If you do need money to go for drops, try to sell these as soon as possible. Now, let me know what you guys are doing with your pairs in the comments below. Since this is a discussion at the end of the day, I can't predict the future. This is just my personal analysis based on the data that I've acknowledged. We have a lot of brilliant minds watching the video right now, so I implore you guys to please leave your notions down in the comments below. But anyway, that will conclude it for today. Remember that the limited endurance restock will take place on October 4th, October 4th, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. CEST. The link and password will be tweeted from Endurance's Twitter. And also, don't forget to follow Gargantua's Twitter for the restock on Tuesday, October 5th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, or perhaps if you learned a thing or two. Leave a like if you enjoyed, or perhaps learned a thing thing or two, and of course, subscribe to stay 100% updated on all these hyped releases and more. Also, feel free to check out the links in the description below for reliable, fast residential proxies and pre-verified Nike sneakers or Adidas accounts. Last but not least, make sure to follow Keith Adam 10 and Personals for You so you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was discussing today. With that though, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day.